Gazette. Today is actually June 9th that we're filming, so school's officially ended, but I wanted to give you all a tour of our garden and where it's at right now. I've planted some summer crops, so I thought I'd give you a tour. And then you can see how the rest of the videos turned out, like what happened to the potatoes we planted, or what about the lettuce that we planted in the bag? Did it ever come up? So I am gonna show you guys what we have in the garden right now and my thoughts for the summer, and I hope that you enjoy. Spring crops. So we have our Swiss chard, so graciously planted by Owen Mill and Heft, and look how awesome these plants turned out. The leaves are nice and big. We can even start harvesting. And with these kind of plants, we just kind of, with a scissor or a clipper or your hand, you can just gently pull off the outside leaves. Those are going to be the biggest ones. And leave the inside leaves to grow because they grow from the inside. So we can start harvesting this chard. We've got a cabbage that was donated to us from Eagle Mill Farm, which is super awesome. And it is getting big. This is probably, I would say, like 6 inches in diameter, that cabbage. So I'll let that grow for a little while longer and then harvest it and make some delicious lettuce wraps or something out of that. We've got our peas. We kind of experimented with 2 different types of trellises. It seems like this trellis worked better. We have a lot more peas growing up this one. The thing that I find really interesting is that I think I planted almost entirely purple peas on this one, and some of the peas that are growing are green. So this reminded me a lot of a fun fact in science. I don't know if you know about Gregor Mendel. He was a scientist that first started to learn about traits, like the color of our hair or eyes, and how we pass those down to our children. So similar with peas, they pass down certain traits from one generation to the next. So I thought it was interesting that even though all these peas were supposed to give us purple peas, some of them actually ended up being green, which is pretty interesting. They're pretty good. So our next bed, I planted a couple weeks ago, and these are all of our delicious summer crops that love the warm weather. So we've got a few tomatoes, we've got an eggplant, and I also have our Three Sisters garden planted here. So unfortunately the corn doesn't seem to have sprouted yet. My question on that is, was it too dry? Was it too wet? Have we not given it enough time? Maybe they'll start sprouting soon. I will keep my eye on that corn. Once that corn sprouts up, then we can start planting beans there. I did plant a pumpkin here, a squash. This is a white pumpkin. As with all of these plants in this bed, donated by the Jones family. Thank you so much for growing these delicious starts for us. They are fantastic gardeners, and I'm really excited to see how these survive the summer. So, well, and hopefully we will be making some pizza out of these ingredients later on in the fall. This bed is actually one that I'm most excited about of any of the beds. See if you can guess what this plant is and what I might be wanting to use it for. I'll give you a moment to watch and think. So this is a plant that many people think of as kind of a weed in their garden. This is mint, and historically Logos has grown mint in our garden, and we have harvested it every year, dried it, and made it into mint tea, which is very delicious. So I hope to be doing that again in the future, and starting this whole entire bed I hope to fill with mint. And the reason why people kind of think that mint is a weed is because it has a very interesting reproductive strategy. Actually, if you come around here, I can show you. I almost pulled it out, so I'll show you what it looks like. Like strawberries, which I'll show you in a little bit, mint actually sends out these runners underground. They're kind of like extra roots that they send underneath the ground. And then these little sprouts of more and more mint come up. Look how many of them there are. And so that's why I planted maybe one small mint here. Hopefully soon enough it will fill the entire bed if I keep it weeded from all of the other stuff that's in there. So I'm just gonna leave this bed and see how much mint we can produce. So keep your eye out for our a mint tea event next year as we harvest and dry this mint. Okay, so this bed here is kind of in transition. If you remember from previous videos, we filmed our insect survey video in this bed, trying to look for insects. There's great habitat here, but right now the habitat is switching over. It used to be kale and broccoli. The kale has since gone to seed, and so we saw some flowers here before, bright yellow flowers that a lot of the insects really liked, and now we have these seed pods that are growing where the flowers used to be. So indeed, kale seeds, you can actually harvest them. I'm gonna let these dry a little longer, and you can see these little bumpy seeds that are kind of underneath the surface of those pods. They kind of look like beans, but those pods will produce seeds that I can then grow kale next year. So I'm gonna kind of leave those go for a little bit longer. I pulled some others out to make room for some other delicious crops. We've got a couple of pepper plants that actually Miss Kays, Chelsea Kays, another teacher here, donated to us that she grew, so that's really awesome. And she also gave us some basil plants, so I planted one of them here and some in some of the other beds, actually by Owen's chart. So we've got some kind of a transition going here, but exciting things in the works. I've left some weeds, which is totally fine, especially if you have weeds in your garden. You might experiment by leaving a couple in and seeing what their life cycle looks like. Like, I was curious what this plant would look like. This ended up being kind of a pretty flower, so I'm just gonna leave it in the bed. Remember my conversation with you a few weeks ago, weeds are all a philosophical question. It's only a weed if you don't really want it in your garden, so keep that in mind and have fun experimenting with those weeds. Our next bed here, we've got a couple things. We've got a rainbow chard that found its way into this bed. It's got a beautiful pink stem. We've got some wonderful pollinator plants here, lavender, 2 different varieties that I actually planted in here last fall. So they've really grown, and actually there's a bumblebee flying, and pollinators, the small ones especially, love those small little flowers that lavender have. There are so many places to get delicious nectar. Speaking of delicious, in this bed, and actually we'll right here, and we'll go over to the next bed to show you, I planted 2 different blueberry plants. So this one over here is doing a little bit better. Fun fact, blueberry flowers actually appear before the leaves. So I was observing that earlier this spring when I saw a bunch of blueberry flowers but no leaves on this plant, and I was wondering, is that normal? It is. And so we actually have some fruits that are growing. They're pretty sweet. They're pretty much ready to eat, a lot of these here. This is the first year of this blueberry plant being in this bed, so we'll see how it grows throughout its life. You can also see an amazing plant donated by the Burks family, thank you so much, a white variety strawberry. And strawberries, as I've talked about before, similar to mint, strawberries love to establish themselves and spread as far and wide as they can. So strawberries also have these runners, and these ones are somewhat above the ground. So they spread themselves through seeds, but also by reproducing through sending out those little runners and starting the new leaves from that. We don't have any fruit yet with these, but hopefully sometime soon. We've also got some rosemary. This is doing great. Another pollinator friendly plant, lupin, that actually was a weed that found its way into my garden, but I love lupin, so I'm actually just gonna leave it in here for a while. And the Joneses also gave us this cucumber, so we'll see how that grows in this bed as well. All right, the moment you've been waiting for. What happened to the potatoes? So this is pretty cool. So in this bag, which we planted a couple things in, looks like it's gotten kind of torn up by some sun exposure. We planted both lettuce and potatoes in this. Both of them have now come up because of our very abundant rains we've been getting. So here's the potato plant. It's starting to grow. Once this potato plant dies back, meaning it turns yellow or brown, I can then start digging out the potatoes that will hopefully have reproduced in this bag. We've also got an amazing variety of heirloom lettuce that I planted in here probably 2 months ago, and it's finally, those seeds have finally felt that it was the right time to sprout. And actually Lydia Jones also gave me the seeds for this, so thanks Lydia. I'm excited to try this heirloom variety lettuce. We also planted some potatoes in the bed, and they've actually started to come up. So we shall see where that goes. And then Lydia also gave us some delicious squashes. So we've got a gourd right here. That's doing well, especially with the rains. We've got a pumpkin here. And this is supposed to be our typical jack-o'-lantern big orange pumpkin. So we'll see what happens with that. We've got some sunflowers that are taking hold, and it looks like they're enjoying their spot here and hopefully going to have some beautiful blooms soon. And then the Livingston family donated some other perennials. We have got this silver leaf here that is kind of like an ornamental grass, and it's starting to feel comfortable in its pot, growing some more new leaves, as well as these echinacea coneflower that I planted in these little pots. So thanks to Livingston's for that. We've got such a great community of gardeners at Logos, and I am so grateful that you are all sharing your bounty with us so that we can experiment and share it with everybody else. So really the moment I've been waiting for all spring has been to harvest some of our root vegetables. There is nothing in gardening, in my opinion, that is more delightful than pulling a carrot or a beet or a radish out of the ground and being surprised at what has been growing for months. So many of you helped me in March before spring break in planting this bed, and it has totally taken off. Our strawberries are trying to take over. Trying to see if we don't have any blooms and any fruits today, but I have been harvesting them throughout the spring. So this is actually Emily's suggestion to plant golden beets. So that was planted here. So let me see. Here's one. That turned out well. Here's another one. So I'm gonna just pull a few of these out of the ground. I don't know if this this bed part looked like it wasn't totally thinned, but we've got some golden beets that I can pull out here. We've got the more traditional red beet. I think this was called the bullseye or bull's blood beet or something like that. These are the more dark magenta colored ones. Got some bigger ones here maybe. Like I said, you never know what you're gonna pull up, so it's pretty exciting just to see what is below the surface. So there's some more beets. Okay, carrots. So we thinned these carrots a little bit ago, so they've maybe had a little more time to grow. Whoops. I pulled the leaves off, but left that carrot is stubborn. You can see it. Looks good. Here we go. Look at that! Yay! Oh man, I wish you guys could all eat these delicious crops. We've got some amazing looking carrots here. I think these were two different types, but they look pretty similar. Pull some more of these out. So there's our carrots. And then we've got some radishes. The radishes over on this side, you can kind of see they've all gone to seed, so I'm not even going to worry about pulling and eating those roots, but some of these radishes might be salvageable. Here's one right here. It's actually a whole bunch. I think these were the Easter egg. So they're all different colors. This one looks like a white. We've got the red. We should have, oh yep, here's a pink one. They kind of do look like Easter eggs. So I will probably be reaching out and offering some of this delicious produce to the folks that are here at Logos right now, the staff that are working really hard to keep our school running. And I hope that you guys have fun harvesting your gardens. I've been getting some emails from folks with pictures of their gardens right now with the kids harvesting and caring for their gardens. So if you have a garden you're currently caring for, please send me a picture and we'll post it on our social media account sometime in the next week or so. And of course I have to have a fun activity. I'm not going to necessarily do it with you, but I've attached onto this video a packet that you can print out and do at home. It's called My Pollinator Journal. And as I mentioned, pollinators are some of the most important garden critters we have because they allow our plants to create seeds again. And some of these radishes, I'm just going to leave their flowers because they have delicious nectar in there for our pollinators to go and eat from. I might even do the same with some of these beets and the carrots to let them go to seed. But if you have a garden at home or if you have a park you like to go to that has clover or dandelions, you will find those buzzing insects and learn to appreciate them. So there's some information you can read with your family about what are pollinators, different types. And then of course, you keeping track of the color of flower and the type of insects that you're seeing. Or is there a pattern? What are you seeing there? And then some general observations. If you want to send us your findings, do not hesitate to reach out. I will be around this summer. I would love to hear from you. So I guess with that, happy summer everybody. And we've kind of come to the end of our spring series for the Garden Gazette. I will keep you posted as to whether we will be doing this again in the fall. I hope that you all stay safe and healthy, and part of that is eating your veggies. So I hope you guys all take care.